record. All right. Good morning, ladies. So just because we had a little glitch today in the morning regarding finding the link. So what I did is I pinned the link to the top of the group. So if you're looking for the link, when you open the group, it should always be there right at the top for you to just press on it and then join immediately, because there has been quite some activity in the group, which is amazing. But of course, that also means that the link, the post where I posted the link, was somewhere in the middle. So I now pinned it to the top. So that means you can find it really easily. And once again, it's always the same link. Okay, so you don't have to, like, you can also save it somewhere, star the email so that you find it. It's always the same link. That link doesn't change. Okay. All right. So good morning to day 6. So a little preview. I would like to, on Sunday, I would like to ask you to do a little review, like to do a little extended version, let's say, like we will not take like 20 or 30 minutes, but maybe 40, 45. And I would like to go into like, where are you guys at? Do you have any more questions? Like, I want to go a bit more into like the how is it going with the setting intentions? Do you have any questions on setting intentions? Like, all of these things is what I would like to go into on Sunday. Okay, just to make sure that everybody's good and going with setting intentions. And today's topic, so 2 days ago, we spoke about joy. Yesterday, we spoke about walking with joy and sadness at the same time. And today, I want to speak about what I call the Teflon Theory. And the Teflon Theory, I named it that way because it came up for me during the horse coaching with one of my clients, that I said, you need to set boundaries and you need to like not let people get at you. And it's like being like Teflon. And because Teflon has like this, if you think of Teflon, it has all of those amazing qualities that we want when it comes to dealing with emotions that other people are throwing at us, right? So the Teflon Theory is not so much about emotions that come from the inside, but more of like, what happens if people from the outside, right? What if we're dealing with other people's negative emotions? What if they're trying to suck us into their drama? What if other people are saying bad things about us? Do we let that get to us? How do we deal with that, right? So yesterday, the topic of sadness was really more about what happens if there are external circumstances that just happen. That's life, right? Like I said, my dad being sick, but the Teflon Theory doesn't help me with that, because it's not about not letting emotions in or setting boundaries. It's more about, it's just shit happens. Shit just happens and we need to deal with that. And we're allowed to be sad. And how do we walk with that? And the Teflon Theory helps us with dealing with when, let's say, so we've got shit happens, and then Teflon Theory helps us with when other people throw shit at us. Okay, that's basically the distinction. And then I have a third one, which I will see if I will have the time to cover today or tomorrow. And that is remaining in the eye of the storm. So when there's a lot of drama happening, or a lot of things are happening and moving around us, we need to be careful that we stay anchored in ourselves. And Corona is actually showing us, I never speak about Corona, I never speak about vaccinations, but in this example, I am going to use it because it's very, we can choose how we want to engage in this conversation. And I have, for example, chosen to absolutely not engage anymore in this conversation about Corona, because frankly, it doesn't help anybody. It's just a waste of energy. And in the meantime, we're just creating more drama, and we get sucked into this whole hurricane of drama that's happening. So we'll see if I can cover both theories. My feeling is I'm going to cover Teflon Theory today and save the Eye of the Storm theory for another day, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps a day later. We'll see. So the Teflon Theory. So Teflon has amazing qualities because, like I said, when you've got shit and you throw it at Teflon, it doesn't stick, right? So it just glides off. And the other thing is that if people don't throw shit but knives, a lot of times people try to stick knives in your back or wherever, try to hurt you. It also doesn't, like, the knives don't, it scratches the surface of the Teflon, which also isn't amazing, but it doesn't go through, right? And that is why I love to speak about Teflon, because it has those two amazing qualities of, like, you throw things at it and it just glides off. Or if you try to stick a knife in it, it doesn't stick, right? It doesn't get through. And the thing is that when people are trying to do things that is either purposely or not purposely, so sometimes we find out through other people, right? But sometimes also it's a direct, like, people just tell you things directly, and the question is, how do you deal with that? So I recently had an experience where so I have my horses stabled here at a place with a guy that is quite wealthy. He has about, I think, 70 horses. And so my 11 horses are also there. And he has a guy working for him, a young Brazilian guy in his 20s who speaks English. And this was a couple of months or weeks ago, that during a conversation with the family who owns the place, my partner was told by this gentleman, so by the owner of the place, that this Brazilian guy apparently hates my guts, but not like a little bit, but really, like, really hates me. And for me, I was like, okay, there's a big difference between not liking somebody and literally hating somebody. And I'm a person that I have a very hard time when people don't like me in general. I got a lot better in dealing with that. So I don't need to be everybody's darling and everybody's superstar. I'm okay with that by now. I used to have a very hard time with that. I used to be like, everybody has to like me. Everybody has to love me. Like when I was still in corporate world, I felt like, okay, I have to be in a way where really everybody just likes me all the time, and I would act accordingly. Now I no longer do that. I no longer have that. But the thing with hate is a bigger thing. And so I'm not gonna lie, like, that really got to me. And it got to me because I was like, why? Like, what on earth did I do? I really didn't understand why. I was like, what on earth did I do? It really got me thinking, like, did I say something? Did I do something? Like, what happened? Like, did I offend him? I really could not understand, and I couldn't get to the ground of it. And it also got me thinking of, okay, how am I going to deal with this? Because I mean, he's dealing with my horses every day. Does that have an impact? Like, does him hating me have an impact on how he deals with my horses? So I got a little bit worried as well, because I was like, what if he treats my horses like shit because he hates me? So all these thoughts and things were going on. And I was quite, I got quite sucked into that energy for some days, because yeah, when somebody tells you that somebody else hates you, I mean, it's a big thing that happens. And so what I learned was that, well, the more I thought about it, I thought a lot also about his background and his, like, where he comes from and how women are dealt with there. And apparently what we came up with is that, well, he comes from a very poor family in Brazil. All he knows is horses. Like, I just recently found out he doesn't even know how to deal with a computer. And in that culture, women are not meant to be super, like, there are not many examples of women that are successful. And so apparently he had a lot of negative emotion towards me, in terms of, like, she's successful, she comes here driving that big fat BMW, and she basically treats me like shit. That was his feeling. His feeling was that I treated him like shit, and which I didn't. But the first day I came there to that place was that I asked him a lot of questions because the owner of the place was not there. I had no idea where things were. I had no idea where my horses were. It's a huge place. And I asked him a lot of questions, which is quite normal. If you come to a new place, I was like, okay, where's this? And where's that? And where can I find this? And I always said, thank you. And I was very polite, but apparently I wasn't maybe polite enough or not. Like, I don't know. He had a really weird vibe and energy. And every time I asked him a question, he was really annoyed and like, what the fuck do you want? And so apparently he said that I was not nice to him on the first day. So that is why he hated my guts. Okay. So now the Teflon theory comes into play. I could have not changed anything about this situation. That is number one, because I would have still gone in on that first day and asked him all the questions because he was the only person there. So he was the only person I could have asked all those questions. The only thing I could have changed is to go in there with a bit of I think I should have been a bit more appreciative for sure, like be more, like taking more time to talk to him. I came in on that day in a bit of a rush. So that is true. However, I let it get to me so much. Like I really let this get to me in a way where I was like, oh my God, he hates me. Like I had sleepless nights going like, oh my God, he hates me. I mean, he really hates me. And in that instant, I should have just like gotten to the conclusion quicker of saying, it's not my problem. It is not my problem. It is not this is his shit, not my shit. Right? So that's what I mean with he's throwing his shit at me because it's his self-esteem that is low and is like, why is she successful? And she's a woman and she drives that fucking BMW and she has all those beautiful horses and this and that and right? That's his world. That's his thing. Has nothing to do with me. I just come in and I'm like the trigger. I'm a trigger of something that he's dealing with in his world, and that is a problem in his world. But it has actually nothing to do with me. So the only thing I could do is, of course, I take I do my due diligence, and I'm like, okay, what could I have done better? Where could I have been politer? Was I appreciative enough? Like tick the boxes of, okay, where did I go wrong? Absolutely. And I always do that, but I shouldn't have let it get to me emotionally so much. Right. So it shouldn't have caused sleepless nights. It shouldn't have been like, oh my God, he hates me. Oh my God, he hates me. Oh my God, he hates me. Every time I saw him in the table, I was like, oh my God, he hates me. So I should have gotten to that conclusion much quicker of like, hey, it's okay. We will figure this out. He's not going to treat my horses worse or better than the other ones. It's still fine as long as, he treats the horses okay. It's okay. And just give it time. Just give it time, and time will heal everything. And don't worry about it. In the meantime, it will be okay, right? I'm going to be okay. Going back to that, I am going to be okay. And so had I used the Teflon theory on this example a bit better, then I would have set my boundaries to say like, okay, step number one, is this his shit or my shit? Right? Step number one, his shit or my shit. So defining where did I go wrong, right? And where is it his shit that he needs to clean up with that I cannot help him with, and that actually has nothing to do with me, because he didn't hire me as his coach, so I cannot help him with that. And step number one, what is his shit? What is my shit? Step number two, do I need the shit to allow to hit my face or anywhere? Like, does it actually need to touch me in some way? And the answer to that question in this case is no, because it is 95% his shit. It is 95% his shit. So there's no reason why this shit should stay in my face. It is allowed to slide off the Teflon, right? And the thing that he didn't do is he didn't stick any knives in my back. He didn't stick any knives in my back. So that's not true. Now that I think of it, that's not true. We had one situation where the owner of the place was on vacation, and my horses were very, very sick, and they had a contagious disease, very contagious, very dangerous disease, that they picked up on the transport on the way there. And so I came out to the place, and I took one of the horses that didn't have any symptoms, because they transmitted by the symptoms. So they transmitted by the snot. And I took two of the horses out that didn't have any symptoms anymore. So then they're no longer can transmit it to the others. And this guy who hates my guts called the owner and said, hey, she's taking out the contagious horses. And so this guy was on vacation, and he freaked out because he thought I was contaminating his whole stable. I would freak out as well. So that's where really he took a knife and stuck it in my back, because he could have just come to me and said, hey, maybe you shouldn't. And then I could have said, hey, but these two horses don't have any snot, so they're not contagious, right? So that's the thing where he did stick knives in my back, but I didn't let them stick. I didn't let them stick because I was like, okay, he doesn't know any better. He is working for this guy. He doesn't have the personal development stage to come to me directly. Of course, he goes via his boss. So the Teflon theory was very effective, that I didn't let him stick the knives in my back. I was like, I'm not letting you stick knives in my back. I'm not taking this on me, right? Like, I've got my little Teflon protection field. I'm not letting you in here. And the next step is to really have that Teflon thing, have like that imaginary Teflon shield, and just feel like every time you come there and the shit gets thrown at you, that you're just like, I've got my Teflon protection field, I will be fine. And over time, you will see that it will get better. So this took me now a couple of months. In order, every single time he was like impolite, it felt like, okay, he's throwing shit at me. Every time I tried to make a joke and he didn't laugh or looked at me in a weird way, or was like, oh, or rolled his eyes, I was like, my Teflon shield was very strong, and I was like, this is not getting to me. It's okay. It's his shit, not my shit. It's his shit, not my shit, right? Teflon shield is up and running. Then, so every single time that I felt this, I really like activated, and I stood a little bit taller. I activated, I put my body language, stuck my boobs out, and was like, you're not getting to me, right? So Teflon shield is activated. And so over time, because I didn't let him throw his shit at me, I didn't engage and entangle with this emotion because of my Teflon shield. And I kept being polite, and I kept being nice to him, and I kept saying thank you overly, right? I kept making jokes. I kept making compliments, in a way, like mini compliments. I said, oh, look, the horses love you. And he was like, yeah, well, I give them food, but these were the kind of things. And now he's beginning to slowly but surely be a bit nicer. So he's still like a bit me. I'm still not his favorite person on the planet, but it's getting better. And so that's where this Teflon thing comes into play, because when we're entrepreneurs, we have the choice who we deal with, right? We have the luxury, and that was one of the things that really I enjoy the most about being an entrepreneur, is that we have the luxury to choose who we spend our time with, and who we deal with, and who we give our energy with, who we spend our energy with. But sometimes we are in situations where we don't have that choice, and it was the same for me. Like when you're an employee or you work in a team, you don't get to pick your boss, you don't get to pick your employees. You're stuck with those people who are trying to throw shit at you all the time because of their personal triggers, their personal emotions, all of the shit that's going on in their life, and they're trying to throw it at you. So you need to learn how to deal with that. Now, I know most of us in this group are entrepreneurs or soon to be entrepreneurs. But some of you that are still in employment are still in situations where you deal with people that you just cannot eliminate out of your life. It becomes more difficult. And one of the examples I love to give as well when it comes to the Teflon theory is it's a lot easier when we're dealing with people who are not close to us, right? So people in a business environment, like this guy who's dealing with my horses, right? It becomes a lot more difficult when it's people that are close to you. So, and I'm speaking especially about family, in-laws, very specific, particular way of dealing with family. And this is also sometimes things where people, like I've had a situation with my sister-in-law, or several situations with my sister-in-law throwing shit at me because she's, and a lot of it comes also because it's a cultural thing a little bit as well. She's Persian, so originally from Iran, and their fighting culture is very different to ours. So there it's like something happens, big drama, we throw all kinds of bad words at each other, and the next day, you know, we hug each other, we kiss each other, we love each other, and the world is all fine. So it's like you literally take all the shit you can find, you throw it at the other person as hard as you can, try to hurt them as much as possible, and the next day you're like, oh, everything is great, I love you, blah blah blah. Now, when this lady came into our family, the first time we experienced this, we were all completely shocked, because this is a fighting culture we've never experienced before. Because we like we as a family, honestly, our communication is not the best, and I'm trying to work on that. But the funny thing is that we go from not communicating at all to somebody who's like stirring up all the shit that there is and throwing it as hard as possible. So my family was literally the first, like now we're learning how to deal with it after, like, she's been in our family now for 10 years. So it's been an interesting journey. But at the beginning, everybody was like, yeah, what are we going to do with this? I mean, like, she said this and this and this and this. And I mean, like, what are we going to do, you know? And what are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? And now we just learn not to take it as seriously anymore. But also we continue to communicate, like, this is not our fighting culture. This is not the way we deal with each other in a family. Like, if you say such things, it sticks, it doesn't, you know, it's like some things you can say, they even stick to Teflon, you know, like you need to have really, really big Teflon layers in order for that to just slide off. But of course, the better you get over time, the thicker your Teflon becomes, and the better you become, where it just like, it doesn't matter what people throw at you. And I've become so much better. Like recently, my sister-in-law said some things about me where I was like, and it was really things where I was like, wow, I mean, this is really below the line. And I just started laughing. I was like, how did she even get this idea? I was laughing so hard because my Teflon layer is so much thicker and better. And then when I thought about it, it did get to me a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you, but also it didn't get to me so much because I knew there was zero truth about it. I was like, well, you can say that, but that's like saying my jumper is red even though it's silver, you know. It was like, what's the point? So my Teflon was very strong in this case already, so she could throw all the things at me, and I was like, you know, slide off, just slide off. So that's the thing. When it comes to our families and people we love and that are close to us, it is so much harder to, let's say the Teflon becomes a little bit thinner. So that is why with our families, we need to think about that the Teflon shield needs to become even thicker. So we need to build up our Teflon and really go into this, that we don't let people, you really need to understand that people are just trying to throw their shit at you. And it has nothing about you. It says nothing about you. It's their trigger, it's their emotions, their things, their self-esteem, their shit, not your shit. Okay. And I say this quite literally with the shit because it's quite nice to understand how it is, even though it's not a nice word. And I don't like swearing on calls, but it literally is their shit, and it's not something you need to deal with. Okay. So I'm going to open up for Q&A now. And before I do that, I'm going to give you your homework. So I want you to see if there is something coming up today for you where you have other people throwing shit at you in some kind of way. It can be the most minor thing. Or if not, and probably for 90%, 95% of you, you will not experience this. But what I would like you to do is to think about, okay, where was a situation in my life, any situation, close family member or somebody like my Brazilian guy, where you had really like bad things thrown at you, really a lot of shit thrown at you, and really like dig deep to understand what was their shit, what was my shit, right? Like you need to take responsibility for your shit, but you don't need to take responsibility for theirs. And how would the Teflon theory have helped you in order to build up like a shield? Like, can you imagine having like the shield around you, just closing your eyes before you go into that situation, being like, okay, I've got like this invisible Teflon shield and it's really thick and nothing can throw at me. There's no shit that can get stuck, no knives that can stuck in my back. Everything is fine. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be okay. All right. So I would really like you to go through that in your space and see where in the past did you have a situation like that and how could you have dealt with it differently, so that the next time it comes up, you know how to activate your Teflon shield and you know how to deal with this, so that it's like, hey, this is not my shit. This is somebody else's shit. So my Teflon can be very good here, and just like let it slide off and not let it get to me emotionally, and so that I don't have to stay awake at night and be like, why does this guy hate me? How is that possible? Okay. All right. Questions, ladies? Bernice, hey. Oopsie.
Hi, Nadia, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you. I can just see your lovely picture.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I'm not visible at the moment, but
no problem.
No, I can really see myself in the topic today, because nowadays there are many. We are being divided somehow by this polemic topic of the COVID and so on. So I know it's a pain in the neck, but it's a very sensible topic. And it's true that I start seeing as well that friends or family members, they take make a judgment on the way we continue living or doing things. Yeah. And at the end, this is creating a little bit of a division. So I think, of course, at the beginning, I have been in situations, especially with some family members, that I feel the distance, and and I really see, when you were talking about this, I really see that this is not about me, but it's about their difficulty they see on how I am dealing with the situation. But it's not my fault. It's not my circumstance the same as them. And it's just having to, as you said, to activate this Teflon shield more consciously and be okay with it, which is not easy. Huh? Obviously, there are feelings and there are emotions around it, because especially if they're family members, then you get impacted. Yeah. But it's also true that being aware of the way they are projecting themselves in all their issues, it's a transformative process for them. Absolutely. We are just the way to channel that transformation. So we are there for a purpose. So we are activating or triggering something in them, thanks to our positivity, or thanks to our energy, or thanks to whatever we are doing. And they have to deal with it. Yeah. So it's important that we always stay real, and we really try to be the best with ourselves. We cannot please everybody.
Since you're bringing this topic up, I will, if you guys still have 5 minutes, do you guys still have 5 minutes? Then I'll cover the Eye of the Storm as well, because it really fits well to this topic. Do you guys still have 5 minutes? Yeah. Yep. Charlotte?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think it really fits very well, and it's good to have the combination of both, because then you're kind of set for everything. So the Eye of the Storm theory is what I said before. So you know that hurricanes, right? They're huge, and they have in the middle, they have an eye, and in the eye, it is silent. In the eye, you have nothing. It is absolute silence. It is a sunny, sunny day in the eye. But in the storm, things are going on, right? Like things are crazy. And the thing is that it's the same when it comes to emotions. And now I think Corona and everything we're experiencing is a perfect example. So you have this whole thing of, and it doesn't matter what side, so to say, you're on, but it's like, it's a storm where everybody's in and everybody's like making a lot of drama and a lot of fuss about it. And the question is like, are you going to engage in the drama or not? Because once you step, as long as you're on the eye and you're like, I'm not engaging in this, like, I'm not going to let myself get sucked into this whole storm. I'm just going to stay in my little eye and I'm going to deal with it my way. And I do whatever choice I want to do regarding all the choices we have. And I'm just going to stay in my little eye and I'm not going to engage with all the emotions and all the drama and all the things, right? And if you want to do like that has been my stand in this situation. It's like, I just don't engage like in all those discussions, conversations at dinners. I don't engage at all. I just zone out, take my phone. I don't really get engaged. I just say, so I try to change the topic as quickly as possible. I say, okay, where's everybody going on vacation? What have you done with your kids recently? Can you recommend a good restaurant? You know, like whatever topic, doesn't matter. Because there's just no, and when people ask me like, why do you change the topic or whatever, I just say, you know, I'm just really tired of this whole conversation. And I just no longer, I feel there's a lot of drama, everybody, you know, and there's just no point. Like, I don't even watch the news anymore because it honestly depresses me. I don't want to watch the news anymore because it feels like there's so much drama and there's so much negative energy going around. And I just don't want to be a part of that. And I consciously choose not to be a part of that. Finished. End of discussion. I don't look at numbers going up or down. And people are really like, oh, wow, she really doesn't talk about that. And so when we are in the eye of the storm, the thing is that it is very, very easy to get sucked into it. And at the beginning, I was also very easily like sucked in and having these conversations and going around and around and around and having a little joy ride on the roller coaster of the hurricane. And but now I no longer do that. And the thing is you keep having, the storm is very smart. So it keeps engaging you in ways like, hey, don't you want to step like a foot into the storm so I can catch you and whirl you around? And you're like, oh, okay, a little foot, just a little bit. It's like, and that's when you still have the choice to still pull the foot back out and say, no, I stay in the eye, right? So little bit of foot in, no, I go back and I stay in the eye. And when it comes to non-corona related discussions, but for example, like, I think I said that in my family recently, we had a lot of drama going on around my dad and around different things that were happening. And I see there are different ways of dealing with it. Like, for example, my father's illness, I'm quite relaxed in a way that I'm like, okay, the situation is as it is. So what are we going to do about it? What can we do? How can we do? And my brother, who is not into personal development at all, he's in the storm all the time regarding all kinds of topics. And so he gets extremely emotional very quickly. And he is like, yeah, but what are we going to do? And panic and this and that. And I'm like, hey, breathe, breathe, relax, breathe. We're going to figure it out. It's all going to be okay. And so when the family drama comes, it's very easy to like get that foot in the door and really get sucked into the drama a little bit. And then it's very hard to pull yourself back out again. And the more people talk about it, because then, you know, you speak to other family members, you speak to your friends, you speak to, like, the more you speak about it, the more like the storm gains energy, right? Storm gains energy. And you're in that storm and you're already whirling around without realizing it. You think you're still in the eye, but you're not. You're already whirling around. So the only way to keep in that eye is not to engage, okay, not to get entangled with all of those negative emotions, to pull your foot back out, say, I'm not engaging with this. And to stay in your own energy, in your positivity, in your eye. It is so important. And you will see, like, if you think about some situations where this happened, Christmas is a very, very popular time for these things to happen, because that's when sometimes a lot of drama pops up. But it's really about going back in that little eye and not getting yourself sucked into the energy of others, right? So the difference between the Teflon is people are throwing like their shit at you, but it's attacking you, right? And the storm is people are trying to pull you into their drama, into their world, into their like, hey, why don't you engage with me in my little storm here? I want you to engage with my storm because I want it to get bigger. And if you're into quantum physics, it makes perfect sense, because negative energy wants to grow. So that's why it keeps like, you know, if you're interested more in this, there's a lovely theory by Eckhart Tolle about the pain body, which I've recently, and if you don't want to read his book, because his books are really out there, as in like they're very, like he uses some very complex language. So you really like need to read I need to read every paragraph twice. I'm like, wow. But he has an interview that he did with Oprah. And it's available on a podcast, so it's free. So if you want to download that podcast, it's like 10 episodes. And it's called The New Earth. The New Earth. It's an interview with Oprah and Eckhart Tolle. He speaks a lot about the pain body, and it's an amazing series. So if you don't have enough to do these days of listening to me and other things and preparing your 2022 and everything else, it's a wonderful thing to listen to. But it can also just go on your list for a later point in time. But it's one that I really recommend when it comes to that storm theory. So, or when you notice that you need a lot of a Teflon theory, then you see it. I don't have the link, Charlotte. I can write the title and you can look for it. I don't have the link, unfortunately. All right. Okay. Questions. What questions do we have? Or comments, if you like.
Well, I have a question that is not particularly about this topic. Is that okay to ask that?
Sure.
Okay, so we're on to day 6.
Yes.
And you have homework for us every day.
Yeah.
Is your idea that we should try and finish up each homework for each day, or is this a continuous process?
It's a continuous process, because you might see that something is popping up today that is from day 1, and you might see something popping up tomorrow that is from today, you know. So and it's a bit of homework where, you know, some of the homework is more like today's homework is not so much about sitting down and writing things. It's more like thinking about it. So you can do that in the car, you can do that in the supermarket, like whenever you want. You can just have a think about it of like, okay, where was the last time I was in this energy, or where was the last time I did something which was not, you know, where I engaged, where my Teflon shield was not activated, and I ended up engaging in this people throwing shit at me, and I ended up having sleepless nights and all the things.
Yeah, because like finding joy, God, I mean, these things have to keep going on all the time.
Yeah. But it's more about being conscious of the things, you know. It's not so much like sitting down and doing work. Like the setting intentions is really sitting down and doing things and doing your vision boards and all of that. That's really sitting down and doing stuff. But, you know, the thing is, there is no right and wrong answer to this, and you shouldn't be too attached to the how. It's more about like being in the energy and realizing things and being like, oh wow, I never noticed that when my brother does this, then I do that, and then we end up in this whole storm, you know. And that can happen, that tomorrow somebody calls you and you're like, wow, I just had a Teflon moment, you know. So it's really about being in the consciousness of it, and not so much like the sitting down for, like, I'm going to sit down now for 15 minutes and do my homework. You know what I mean?
But did you cover how to get in the energy of the Teflon shield? How to actually, because it's not just, oh, I have to be Teflon now. It's also a process like all the other things. how to actually shield myself in this Teflon.
So the process, it's a combination of like when you're in a good energy place, right? You put your Teflon shield around that, but really the Teflon is meant for when people actively throw things at you. So it's really meant for, like, for example, you can actively put your Teflon shield on if you know you're going into a difficult conversation with somebody. Then you can actually put your Teflon shield on and be like, okay, you can actually imagine like I close my eyes, for example, and I just imagine like a shield coming out from the ground and just covering over my head, yeah, for me, it's transparent, which Teflon isn't. It may look different for you, but I just close my eyes. I'm like, I've got the shield of Teflon. I've got Teflon, and I'm going to feel amazing. I'm going to walk through this in an amazing way. And then it's activated. And then as long as you know it's activated, it's done. You don't need to do anything else, you know? And then you have a reminder with you when you go into a difficult conversation, you know, like, I'm safe because I've got Teflon and the other people don't. That's it. It's not, you know, it's not super complex.
But I'm thinking about what you were saying yesterday as well, where thinking I'm okay no matter what. Isn't that part of the Teflon theory as well? That you could
absolutely. So like
methodology
I said,
that, you know, finishing up your mindset with no matter what, I will be okay.
Exactly. So that's the baseline of what you feel like inside your Teflon, right? Like I said, inside your Teflon, you've got generally a strong energy of I'm going to be okay, of positivity, of joy, of strength, right? Like that is overall your baseline in any case, Teflon or no Teflon, right? This should always be your baseline of like, I'm strong, I'm going to be okay, no matter what happens, I'm good, I'm going to be all right, right? Like that should be your baseline overall, if it's Teflon or no Teflon. But if you want to have like a small ritual where when you're going in a difficult conversation where you're like, okay, first of all, strengthen myself. And then like, I'm going to be okay no matter what. I'm strong, I'm amazing. And just have a little pep talk to yourself and then put the Teflon shield on. If you want to do that, you can. That can be extra powerful if you feel like, okay, I'm gonna walk into a difficult conversation. So I need to strengthen myself first, and then I put that shield on.
But that's how I work anyway, that I need to work on my mindset first and then, yeah. Okay, good. Thanks, Nadia.
Yeah. For me, I have to say, I'm not aware of that so much anymore because my mind is already generally quite there, but it's a really good point. Thank you for raising that question and bringing that up. Absolutely. Any other questions, guys? Good, Nell, you unmuted yourself. Yes.
No, I don't have anything.
You don't have any questions. Okay. All right. Then everybody, I wish you a fabulous day. By the way, today's day 5, tomorrow's day 6. I wish you a fabulous day. I will see you tomorrow at 9. And yeah, good luck with finding your examples for you can apply your Teflon theories too in the past, so that in the future, you can be much better at applying the Teflon. Okay. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.